Oh, that just took forever. Good morning, everybody. It is Road to Recovery, and it is January 16th, 2023. I almost said 22. Happy New Year, everybody, for all of you joining me. This is the Monday morning chat, and the purpose of this Monday morning chat is to give you the opportunity to interact with me, be able to ask questions or comments about your recovery. Last week I had, unfortunately, a technical snafu and was not aware of the fact that my microphone was unplugged. And that's because I've been doing so much recently on my computer for doing work-related things that I lost track of my equipment, wasn't following the mic feed, and unfortunately, I sat there and talked into a camera, and none of you heard me. Uh, well, I didn't do a lot this morning to promote this, so I'm just going to go on Twitter very quickly and just say Monday morning chat is up and running. All right, let's do that. Give me just a second. And man, everything is just running really slow today. Let's do this. All right, let's do this now. Get the Monday morning chat link up in there. Let our folks in Twitter land know that we are live. I am just Butterfingers this morning. Oh, so what's going on in the universe today? Well, there's actually been a lot of traffic that's been going on. I had recently just taken a time to journal about, my time as a porn addict and how long of a time that actually is. And when I actually look at it, wow, it's kind of surprising that I've been at this for so damn long. When I say that at it, I mean about the actual addiction itself, like how long I've been an addict. Um, and sometimes it's hard to really say when did my addiction really start. Did it start at the first time I looked at porn? Probably not. It's probably been going on. I would say my obsessive tendencies probably started in my teen years. So realistically, you could probably say that I've been at it for 35 years. Um, Yeah, probably closer to the 40-year mark. So, being a porn addict for 40 years was kind of shocking to think about because 40 seems like such a large number. But when you break it down into time periods, like, there was a magazine phase of my life, and then there was the, uh, you know, then came internet, which was in the 90s for me, my access to internet pornography, but high speed internet didn't start till the early 2000s. That's when cable and then finally fiber optics started becoming really popular, and you could really download it at some fast speeds. Um, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you needed to have high speed in order to form an addiction. You could, on the 52 baud modem, 5200 baud modem, you could still form the addiction. And what's happening is just taking longer to download. But the anticipate all the facts about what makes the addiction, like the anticipation, the plotting, the sitting there, in this case, actually having the patience to wait, as a image, shows up on a screen. It was all there. I think what happens with high speed is that now you have the luxury of not having to wait anymore. And so you can just go through that process faster. But the cycle is still exactly the same. Let's see what's going on. Yeah, it's been a crazy week. I was so mad that I lost my last Monday morning chat because I was talking about so much. So, if you're new to this channel and you want to either talk or ask a question, you have access to the chat feature that's on this page. Just know that when this video actually is posted to YouTube, you won't see your username at all. So if you want to ask questions, the only person who'll be able to see it is me. So I purposely, when I set up the channel, I take away the chat comment capabilities for recording, so no one's going to be able to see it. I really believe in anonymity on this channel. What else we got? Yeah, Your Brain on Porn had recently published a study, and it was talking about the influence of, get back to it here, the influence of maladaptive metacognitions in education, rethinking the proneness towards addiction. And so what is a maladaptive metacognition? This is really interesting because it's another way of saying your thoughts, right? Your cognition has to deal with the thoughts inside of your mind, and your ability to be able to warp or perceive those, thoughts as a conscious human being. So metacognition is the thought about making thoughts, right? So inside of your brain, you can sit there and you can close your eyes and you can imagine things, whether it's people, places, things, whatever. You can imagine concepts, you can imagine touches, feels, senses, like all of that is capable inside of the human brain. A human brain is an amazing thing, right? It's so amazing that we can think about thinking, right? How crazy is that idea? You can think about thinking. And a lot of us do it all the time. I am guilty of that. I think about I think about my thoughts, and I really do a lot of deep thinking, and I've done that probably my entire life. But there comes a point in time where that deep thinking can get you kind of in trouble. So when you're thinking about thinking, you can think about like good thoughts, you can think about bad thoughts, you can think about the reactions that you would have to thoughts. And when you start getting into the thinking about thinking, right, that's what's called metacognition. So you're developing several layers of um, an actual cognition, and then the concept of what is the thought. So your brain's not multitasking. It can't actually produce like what I could say is a sub-virtual environment that doesn't actually happen inside of the human mind, but it keeps it abstract. It keeps the thought about the thought like as it's like a bubble, just kind of like imagine it as a bubble. And so your brain visualizes or conceives of like all the abstractness of like what those thoughts are. And so you're having a thought about a thought, right? Um, so what the study was talking about was the proneness to addiction by going through going through this process. Like if you start really going into heavy metacognition all the damn time, um, you know, it kind of I would describe it as kind of like almost this crazy feedback loop because you're cycling through these things trying to rationalize it, reason with it, and maybe change the idea of what these metacognitions actually are. Like sometimes you can sit there and warp these ideas around, um, and what happens is that you create the circumstances by which, when you try to look for that escape, when you're trying to get the out because you can't handle what's going on inside of your mind anymore, you start to be more prone to like addictions. And it doesn't necessarily mean, just porn. It could be like any addiction. You've just created the proneness to getting into an addiction. So what I tweeted out earlier this week was that yeah, this is exactly why meditation is a great tool, because it gets you out of your head. Um, the idea that we can just be so wrapped up in what's going on inside of our own heads that it drags us down, and it can be exhausting sometimes. And so what you need to do is get yourself out of your mind, and a good meditation practice, when it's done repeatedly, uh, what it helps you do is to be able to sit down and observe your thoughts like from a third party, but more importantly is not do that heavy interaction anymore. Just look at what's going on inside of your mind and just say, oh yeah, there I'm going about this again, right? So it's like you look at yourself from your outside of your body, and you're looking at yourself and saying, yeah, why do I keep doing this to myself? And once you start doing that repeatedly over and over through the meditation practice, what it does is that you start to train your cognitive processes to stop that insanity of constantly trying to think about thoughts. Um, and in turn, it stops anxiety or depression that could be the result of getting down that road. So what the study was all about was, talking about how prone you were to, um, if you're in that loop, how prone you are to being in addiction. So pretty interesting, and it's nice to see that the folks over at Your Brain on Porn. I would love to know. I haven't been following what happened after Gary died. I think, there's probably a team of folks that are kind of like working over there and managing that site still. I would love to know who's actually managing the Twitter feed over there. Heck, I'd even like to see if they'd like to come on one time, and if they'd be up to an interview, just to get information, because if they're still staying on top of the research. So good for them for doing that. Okay, let's go out. Sorry, I have not been checking. Okay, yeah, no one's out chatting yet. Uh, oh, this morning I also, by the way, if you want to interact, go ahead and chat something down in the chat feature. If you're just coming in. If not, I'm going to be stopping at exactly 9:30 this morning. Um, Other things that I had, I made the jump, guys. I made the jump. I made the jump from SLAA, which was my home 12-step program, over to I decided I was going to start a new meeting, and it was going to be Porn Addicts Anonymous. And I'm not doing online stuff anymore. I went to a community center, and I'm starting an actual live session. And me and one of my sponsees from SLAA, he came with me, and we just jumped out and decided to form a meeting. And we had been talking about it for a while. So what were my motivations? Um, I think the big reason why I did it is because when COVID started happening, we were always meeting in a local community center. I can't tell you how beneficial it was for me to have live human beings to talk to actually go to a room. And despite all of my, um, I really am a reclusive person. I don't like to hang out with other people. So it was a huge challenge for me to get into a room and have to sit there and talk about what my problems were. But it was the best thing for me. Like, I literally found fellowship inside of those rooms, and it was important that every single week I had that routine where I got in there and I got to meet people, push past the uncomfortableness, and actually made some real good bonds with people. And they wholeheartedly accepted me, despite most of the people in the room not being porn addicts. Um, But SLA was a great program. You could set your own bottom lines. You do lots of things. Then COVID struck. And when COVID struck, we all went online. Now, the good thing is, like, a lot of the people that were important in the program to me still stayed with the program. I interacted with them a lot. We lost like half of the people inside of the room, and I was really worried that that process was, I mean, the process of going online was keeping people away who didn't want to use their computer because, sometimes it's not easy to be alone because people have families and it's just difficult for them to pick up an electronic device and hide themselves in a closet or a bedroom and just stay online for an hour. It's just difficult for people to do. Some people have, technology barriers. They can't access um, they can't access things, or they don't have the skill sets to do that. Maybe they're just older people. So all of those things kind of bothered me, really bothered me. When new people were coming into the room, talking about online now, I could quite clearly see that they didn't have the luxury of having fellowship like I did. So, like, in addition to the meetings afterwards, we could sit around and have book readings. That's not happening online. We could hang out at sometimes a diner or a coffee shop or whatever, and just to have a conversation or do our step work. That wasn't happening online. So all these bad things I could immediately perceive were a problem in doing the online meetings. And unfortunately, a lot of the people who went through the COVID process, they didn't want to go back because they discovered now it's like, oh, I don't have to leave my house. I could sit here in my slippers and, fire up my computer and just attend a meeting. It was good for them, but it wasn't good for other people. And that was the reality that I could see. Like, I did not like what had become um, of the online experience. I think that now I will say there was one benefit that we started getting a lot of other people coming into rooms, which is fantastic. But these were local meetings, right? This was a local meeting for a local town, and you knew that the people that were inside of that room were from your town. When we did the online meetings, we had people from all over the world. When I say all over the world, I mean all over the world showing up in our meetings. Um, yeah. The other thing that, when I was in SLA, I could curb because we had a percentage of porn addicts that always came in. I could curb parts of the meeting so we could have special announcements to say that we'll do a book reading and it's going to be on this subject matter, and you just get the porn addicts that are showing up. So I was able to bring in lots of different porn addicts, and we could focus. We could really focus on the addiction itself um, within the context of SLAA. Um, and I felt like all that had kind of dissolved with what had happened with COVID. Um, and so now that it's back to generic SLAA again, I feel like something's missing. Like I'm not being able to really focus and then establish comfort with some of the people that have addictions like that, with my addiction, to get them to talk inside of rooms. So I did some online research, and I was aware of PAA's existence. I saw basically that they're basically a splinter off from SAA, which I love their program. SAA is a great program. Um, and so I decided to just form a new meeting, man, and we were just going to focus on nothing but porn addiction. And so that's what we did. We went down to the local community center. I set up everything, and we've got a new meeting going on. And I was great. I walked into that room, and it felt like old times again. Like I felt like we finally got a foothold onto something, and I've got some backing, and now I've just got to get some butts in seats. So my next thing is marketing my meeting out to just make sure that people can attend to my local town. And I know I 100% know that we're going to get people in there. It's just a matter of getting it out on all the correct resources. And the way you do that is like the local community center I work with. They're really good about putting things up on their website. So you know, we get it out there on the web. You go back to the original 12-step groups, and in my case, I've got to kick somebody over at PAA and get their calendar updated. But um, you know, you go through the process of just reaching out to all these organizations and just making sure that they're putting the meeting announcements up, and that's how you start it. That's how you start it. And the reason why I'm saying this is if you're listening right now and you don't have any local resources, like if SAA or SLA don't exist in your areas, start a group yourself. And what you do is, like, I had the luxury of having a community center that hosts groups like this, but if you don't have that sort of resource, you can usually reach out to like a local church. So if you don't even have to be a member of that church. You literally don't have to be a member of that church, but do things like go out to see where AA meetings are being hosted. Find where a AA meeting's being hosted. You go to that exact same location, and you find out who's the manager of the facility, and you go talk to that person and say, "Hey, I'm interested in starting up a group, a 12-step group. Do you guys have uh, capability of being able to host another day? I know you're hosting AA. Could you host ours?" Other groups you can check for are Al-Anon, ALNON. Um, that's like very well is like, the sons and daughters of alcoholics. They are they're all over the place, and just like AA, they're usually hosted in like a church or some sort of community organization. And just backtrack, find out where they're hosted, find out where they're having their meetings, and see if you can also get a meeting hosted there. And you tell them I'm a 12-step program, and be blunt about it. It's like it's for porn addiction, and we're looking to just do it. And normally, what these facilities do is they'll ask you for either a donation or for some sort of rent for the room for a period of time. And so when you have your meetings, you have everybody pitch in like a buck. That buck is nothing, man. It's like the best money you'll ever spend. Um, so yeah, that's how it all works. Looking at the time, we're at 9:26, and I'll just keep talking about the things I want to talk about. If we don't get anybody chatting in rooms right now, that's fine. Like I said, I did not market this meeting. I was running late. Oh, the thing I wanted to talk about. Yeah, we're gonna do this Google Meet thing. I'm gonna post it today. So I'm gonna do a Google Meet. I'll create the link, and we're gonna target 2 weeks from now. I'm going to target for Tuesday night. Tuesday night, and I'll probably target 7 Eastern time. 7 Eastern time sounds like it'd be a good time. So I'm gonna not make that an announcement today, and I'll get the Google link up. I'll put it in the community chat on my YouTube. Which, if you go up to the very top of the channel, you go to the community chat, and I'll have the link up there, and I'll also post it to my Twitter feed. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, feel free to DM me on my Twitter, or email my Road to Recovery email. The way this would work is that I'll just provide the link the day of. You just click on the link and go in. The only thing I want to make sure is that if you want to come in anonymously, because it's going to be an open chat, everybody who wants to come in can just come in, and we can all turn on our cameras if we want to, or turn them off. It's up to you. But just make sure you set up a Google profile that is anonymous so that no one else can see you. Just create a brand new Google link. So you have the opportunity, if you already have one, you can create another one. You can have multiple accounts, and you just switch between the two. But create a new Google link, and then you can just drop into this chat anonymously and say whatever you want to say. So I'll be posting that link up today, and it'll be 2 weeks from now. So let's just look. What date is that? Calendar work. That would be the 31st. So 31st of January. So 31st of January, guys, we can make that happen. And this will be my first stab at trying to get a community together so that we can talk about porn addiction and porn addiction recovery. So again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them below, or DM me on my Twitter account, or email my Road to Recovery email address, and I'll take it from there. It's road to recovery 11 at yahoo.com. Road to recovery 11 at yahoo.com. All right. I think that's all I got. Any chatters out this morning? If not, I will go ahead and lock it down here. Yeah, no one came in. That's my own damn fault. I did not mark it heavily this morning. I came into the last minute, but it's been a busy weekend. All right, guys. Take care of yourself. Have a happy new year if you're not having one already, and please stay on that road to recovery.